Karlyn Percil is a certified emotional intelligence and neuro life coach. She's the founder and CEO of KDPM Consulting Group and the founder of Kofa AI. Karlyn's journey shows firsthand what it means to develop self-sovereignty and build community that's rooted in creating safe spaces for courageous conversations. Today, she's the founder of Kofa AI, an emotionally intelligent, culturally rooted coaching platform designed to amplify psychological safety and redefine power in the workplace. Her work bridges data and diaspora, legacy and leadership, offering a blueprint for success rooted in identity and healing. Karlyn's impact has been recognized globally with features by the Oprah Winfrey Network, Cityline, Essence, Forbes, The Globe and Mail, and more. Through coaching, tech innovation, and community building, she's helping people to reclaim their stories from the inside out. This is The Other Canada, and this is Karlyn Percil. Karlyn, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. And you look fabulous.
Thank you so much. And likewise,
Thank you.
absolutely stunning, absolutely stunning. And you are not new to this. She is true to this. You know, from when I was studying in school, I remember seeing you on LinkedIn, on socials, just really enjoying not just gourmet for the eyes, but also all of the gourmet for the soul. You know, all of the wisdom that you shared and all of the important language that we need to be able to communicate what we're experiencing every single day.
Yeah.
So what do you think people need to know about you before we jump into this conversation to understand your mission, your purpose, and what you bring to the world?
Thank you so much. And I really love that gourmet for the soul. People got to step it up now.
There you go.
What would be, I think I'll share something that might surprise people about me because exactly what you say. I try to speak in all languages, meaning sight, sound. You know, you see me. I love bright colors. My choices in terms of what I wear and who I wear says a lot about how I live my values. But something I think people don't know about me is that I'm actually an introvert and quite shy, right?
Wow.
And when I say quite shy, is that I have no problem speaking to people. That's why I do what I do. You know, being a certified emotional intelligence, you know, a neuro life coach, and all the other areas of interest that I've gone down, it has helped me to, yes, of course, to build my confidence and to show up in anything I do with my full self. But I'm a stay-at-home body.
Yeah.
There are so many concerts. There are so many things that I want, conferences that I want to go to. And when I think about the crowd, I get overwhelmed. And I don't go. I stay home. So I think something people might be a bit surprised to know is that, and also that I'm a book nerd. I love reading, which also speaks to why I love staying at home so much.
It's interesting because I think a recent post I saw you were under an absolutely stunning tree and
Yes.
on your own. So
Yes.
yeah, that makes sense in terms of where you get your energy from and where you build from.
I love solo dates. And growing up in St. Lucia, I think it's a lot of that as well. I grew up in what we call the bush. I'm a bush girl. Bathed in the river growing up, you know, country girl. Where are my country people at? Kerosene lamp people. I remember the first time I did a talk at a high school here, and I talked about how many people know about kerosene lamps. And the kids were looking at me like, huh? But my upbringing has really helped fuel my ability to be in complete pleasure in my own company and to seek nature, because in nature is when we also connect to all version of ourselves. But also I think in nature is where we get to be quiet and to actually hear ourselves as well. So yes, I love dates, you know, in the park and going for long walks and just actually hearing the birds sing. I'm at that age where I'm like, did you hear the birds this morning?
Love it. Love it. Well, no, the energy that you're bringing from those solo moments, you definitely bring them into all the spaces where you're speaking. You know, you were on Oprah's Life Class, you know, you've been on Cityline, you've been on Catalyst, you've been across a number of different networks and also at a number of different live events as the mouthpiece.
Yes.
So how do you take care of yourself to show up in those spaces? And, you know, what is your purpose when you're walking into those spaces?
That's a great one. I don't walk into a space if my purpose isn't clear.
Yeah.
right? Um, I think too often when you have a mission, which we all have a mission, what is just by existing and being, and my mission is to really reflect the love that we all have inside of us.
Love
Back to
that.
the person, whether it's in corporate space, I use different language there, or through my women's group, Sister Talk group, or whether I'm speaking to youth. I think that's what led me to creating the success system. I had to create a self leadership practice because sometimes you're in rooms where um, spirit, energy, God, use the language that feels right for you, is screaming at you that this is a room that you have outgrown, or this is a room or table you need to get up from.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
sometimes we tend to want to be in rooms and places and spaces we are not supposed to be there because we're actually taking up space of someone else when the blessing or the energy that is meant for us is in a different room. But we're stuck in that room. So what has really helped me to understand or have the clarity or to have this might look a room that I should have been in, but I wasn't supposed to be there. And I'm okay with that. So I think people call it the JOMO, the joy of missing out.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
my self-leadership practice, my ability to tap into what is my purpose in this space, or do I even have a purpose in this space? That has really helped guide where I go, what I say yes to, who I say yes to, who I spend time with. Because I think that the more, you're able to spend time with yourself, to understand yourself, to understand your gifts,
Yeah.
and to understand that there are seasons where you're actually meant to be planting and toiling your garden, which means that for me, head down, I'm in a research mode or writing mode or framework development mode. So it means that I'm actually not supposed to be in any rooms. The only room I'm supposed to be in is in the creation room, and which means there's a lot of alone time, lots of isolation, and lots of intentional research and reading.
That's beautiful, especially because, if as a life coach, you're guiding people in the direction of where they're going in their life. And it's so important for you to be rooted as well. And it's been really refreshing to learn a lot more about your practice. So maybe we can start in terms of your history, and then I definitely want to go into your role now. Let's talk about early Karlyn.
Ugh,
You know?
early Karlyn.
Yeah.
How early are we going? What we're throwing it back to? 23 to mid 30s.
I would say even before that, you're saying you're a bush gal.
Yeah, I'm a bush gal. Moi sorti Bas Laboui. I'm from Bans Labri. I have the privilege of being born in St. Lucia. It's my home country. And again, I think maybe again we talk about nurture versus nature. Growing up in a small village with no electricity, no running water. Maybe that's what formed my love for reading, but I grew up with books. Books are my first love. Some people have shoes, they have clothes. As much as I love fashion, books, that's actually my first love. So Karlyn is that right now, she's a grown woman. I call myself a beautiful warrior, who loves, I have this insatiable hunger for knowledge, especially knowledge about, my culture. When I first moved to Canada in 2003 to Toronto, going through my career on Bay Street, the parts of Karlyn that I brought with me from St. Lucia, which I was so proud of, like, ne parle patois, I speak Creole, and all of that, these were things that were actually used against me in terms of a stereotype, like, you didn't speak proper English and so forth. And that created a bit of a fragmented identity, right? Because you now pick and choose who you bring to work with you or who you bring into the room with you. And what no one tells you is that those fragmented pieces of who you are, as much as you have, okay, I have, the girl in the bush, Karlyn. I came into the role with skill set. I opened, new branches, trained staff while I was in St. Lucia. So I brought also that with me, right? You carry your history with you everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And that history should be a source of strength, intelligence, sovereignty, knowledge. And I was very excited to present that Karlyn, when I moved to Canada. But then I came across all those different, obstacles and human obstacles, I might add,
Yeah.
and barriers where one of the first defining relationships that taught me and reminded me that not all women are, for you.
Yeah.
There was this person who asked me, how did I get the job?
Mm.
Like, and there were some implications that I didn't get the job based on my own merit. And what really hurt about that was it was another Black woman who was also from the Caribbean,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And going back to that question around, who am I? A lot of those experiences shaped me.
Yeah.
And they actually really it's what informed my work. Because if there's one thing I learned early on, no one's coming to save you.
That's so true.
No one's coming to save you. And as much as this hurts, it also frees you up because it gives you permission to do life your way. So with the knowledge I had from Karlyn from the islands, the knowledge I had and the bruises from surviving corporate, right?
Yes.
I was introduced to this really uh, um, mix of, and that's why I use the term a lot, beautiful warrior, because warrior sounds like, you have to fight for something, but you don't always have to fight. You can be a peaceful warrior. You can uphold your boundaries.
That's true.
By being firm through your silence, by not engaging with certain people.
Yes.
And beautiful meaning that I remember I did a talk for a high school, and someone said, maybe don't wear makeup and don't dress up, because people find it hard to believe that you are someone who want to tell people on how to be beautiful. And I was like, huh. And this was someone who didn't really know me because she assumed, again, she looked at the external,
Yes.
I guess you can say presentation
Yes.
without thinking of, well, what was the internal process that got her here?
Yeah.
And that's where the success system, a lot of the tools, the self-love coloring book, that's where all of that came from. Because I realized that what looked easy to others didn't understand the 10,000 hours of coaching myself, bringing myself up, holding on to my cultural heritage and my language in spite of being teased and mocked and saying that, oh, you don't speak proper English, so that means then you might not be able to handle this project. Like all of those assumptions that people make, that they put on us.
Microaggressions.
All those microaggressions and misogynoir and all of these. If you're not careful, you end up taking those bruises that people put onto you and defining yourself with them.
Wow. Yep. So it happens so often where it becomes internalized.
Yes.
And you've taken on these projections as your identity.
As your identity.
And so it's interesting that your pain has transformed into your purpose, because as a life coach, what I found really fascinating and, very intentional was the structure in which you guide your practice. Maybe you can share a little bit about the structure and how you guide your practice and how you define success in terms of guiding someone as a life coach.
When you realize that the lemons life gave you, you have to create your own lemonade, you actually get excited to define life on your terms. And that's what it was for me. I know sometimes, purpose can come from pain. But one of the things that I learned was how creative I got once I started giving people back the stories or the narratives. I was like, oh, that was coming from your own self-projection or your level of self-awareness. Oh, it has nothing to do with me, right? So once you're able, and I think that's what really drove me towards, emotional intelligence and studying neuroscience from a neuro coaching perspective, because I wanted to understand the brain. I was like, why is it today I'm confident, I got this, I'm dreaming big. Yes, let's go. And tomorrow I'm like, why am I here? What am I doing with my life? Right? You can go. It was almost like riding this emotional roller coaster.
Yep.
Of constantly,
And we've all been there,
right?
Yeah.
It's like you wake up and it's like, why am I debating with my self-worth or even questioning it? And that's the vicious cycle of that cultural stereotype that the world has, I would say, put on us. So I realized two things: people's level of self-awareness, right? I might see myself out a certain way, but we tend to project who we think people are based on our own level of whether it's insecurity or level of confidence.
So true. Yep.
Then I also realized that you cannot practice alone, right? True transformation happens in community, in group, with someone else. And when you look at the science, the neuroscience behind shame, so shame is that uncomfortable emotion. And to feel shame is to be human. We tend to get rid, because I grew up thinking, oh, I need to get rid of shame.
It is a language that's used.
It's a language
very
that's used
often.
very often. And there's so much shame-filled narratives. People tend to use shame to control people. People tend to use shame to keep people in relationships. People use
shame on you.
Shame on you. Oh, look at you. Shame on you for wearing that or for saying that or for doing that. We weaponize shame.
Yep.
But what no one tells us is that when we weaponize shame, we weaponize our humanity. And we get further and further and further away from who we really are, from our highest self or true self.
Yeah.
So when I learned that shame thrives in secrecy, silence, and judgment. What are our cultural narratives rooted in? When you think about it.
Our cultural narratives?
Yeah.
Oh. Speaking, sharing.
Yeah. And they're usually rooted in, when I think about that woman who said, oh, how did you get the job?
Oh,
right?
yeah,
and then she said like, oh, like, who did she have to sleep with to get the job? Because obviously somebody like me, there's no way I'm smart enough to, get that job. She was trying to shame me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that
and
judgment,
that was a projection. Yeah.
And that was a projection.
Yeah.
Because we are taught to believe that there can only be one.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if there's one, baby, you better go and get that 2 or 3. And that's why for me, community is so important, because in community, not only do we get validated, the number of women who I've seen in spaces where we can just give each other the look, that nonverbal, and you feel seen.
Yes.
Right? You feel like, oh, okay, there's someone out there who gets me.
And it's an illusion. It really is an illusion, because there's actually so much more power in the solidarity.
There's so much more power.
We're able to create more opportunities together.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
1 + 1 = 11 when we come together, and yeah, it's about breaking that illusion, but that has to start from an internal space first.
Exactly. Yeah. Because then you would think, so the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and projected reality, right? So if I'm saying something to you that is harmful, it's kind of like drinking poison and expecting you to receive the impact. I said it. I drank the poison, right?
Yeah.
So people don't understand that when we hate on each other, what you're doing is that you're actually building your own self-hate in a narrative.
So true. And we see it play out all the time. And over and over again. Yep.
Why do you think mean girls, and a lot of actually, unfortunately, women's groups, there's so many mean girls in those groups.
Yeah.
So going back to the model, so I realized that in order for me to be in community, I have to have a practice to understand my emotions. We will be triggered because we inherited a very, very racist, misogynoir, sexist world, right? We didn't create it, but we inherited it. So which means we have to understand the language, understand the narratives, understand how they pit us against each other.
Yes.
Not just as Black people, but as women, as other races, right? Remember, who benefits from our disconnection?
Everyone else,
but us,
except
right?
us. Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So for me, creating Sister Talk came about because I was trying to build something within the workplace, but everybody was so with the business card. And I did build groups at work, but there was so much with the exchange business cards, and I really wanted more of a heart talk, not a heart chat. Like, can we talk about all those elephants in the room?
Yes.
Like, why don't we get along? And the workplace doesn't really acknowledge, racial, bias, or they even talk about race at all. So how do I navigate knowing that, oh, this was a racist remark, but where do I go with that?
Yeah.
Because HR
without
doesn't
the
understand
shame.
it, right?
Right. Creating a safe space to have those
Creating
conversations.
a safe space.
Yeah.
So Sister Talk became that for me. And it started in my living room. I couldn't do it at work, so I decided to do it in my living room. And that's how this practice came in. And I realized that, again, how do we support women coming together, and how do we, and I love learning. I'm a nerd. I've accepted that. I'm a nerd. I love learning, and I love sharing what I learn. And when I did my adult learning and personal development certification, that's one thing I learned that really solidified it for me.
Yes.
I did training, at work as part of my job, but I really wanted to be better at it. So I pursued this certification. I asked my work to cover it. They said no. And I think that was when I began to be like, okay, it's time for me to move out on my own.
Yes, yes.
So I paid for it anyways, went out on faith, got it. And the number one thing I remember learning from that, and that's how the Elephant Stories program came about, was that we learn better in groups.
Yes, yes,
and we thrive when we're in community.
So you
right?
mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned sister talks,
Yeah.
and you mentioned that framework in terms of, what did you call it? How you
You need a I call it, like, if you're looking for full transformation, you need a
Yes.
self-leadership, you need a community of practice, and you need some sort of creative system.
Okay.
Like, how are you going to maintain that practice? How do you have, if you think about the 5 people you have in your life, how are they feeding your mind, body, and soul? Who's
So
pouring
maybe
into
we
your
can-
dreams? Who's pouring into who you as a person? Who's
Yes.
supporting you? Who's cheering you on? And who's that critical thinker who's helping you to critically analyze some of your choices and some of your decisions? So it's like a framework to help you to keep all those practices in check.
Beautiful. And so maybe we can start from the beginning one and then go right to the end.
Yes.
So what I love about this framework is it starts with the self,
Yes.
then it goes to community, and then it goes to that larger system.
Yes.
So maybe we can start with the self. What's the framework that you've created that we can all tap into? Where do you start in terms of that?
I start with you need a self. I call it a self-love practice. And it's rooted in, like, Bell Hooks has those, she called it her 6 ethos of love. And to me, it's a communion of love. So love includes care. It includes kindness. It includes trust. It includes responsibility, right? It includes respect. So, and includes knowledge of self.
Yeah.
So that self-care, that self-love practice, under the success system, which is a tool that I designed. We have self-love. I designed a self-love program. I have a better habits journal, because it's actually, there's so many different moving pieces when you think about it in terms of your rituals and your practices. And the brain thrives on storytelling and narratives.
Yes.
So what I say to myself matters. So in the self practice, this is where I build that. Okay, same way that you have a morning routine, like you wake up, maybe you get dressed, maybe you listen to a podcast or whatnot. The success system helps you to design a personal purpose system that supports your dreams and your goals and who you are becoming.
That is so powerful. So when someone first comes to you for coaching, is that where you start?
I don't do one-on-one coaching anymore, but that's what took me to the system. So where I start is, you can start with a membership at KDPM Equity Institute. What I've done is taken a lot of the pathways and I've just put it online to give people more access.
Yeah.
And for the coaching part, I realized that I just didn't have the capacity to do the one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
And there's such a huge gap right now. I think it's something like 70% of young folks don't have a mentor. Even for women in the workplace, women are also undercoached.
Yep.
To me, these are problems that are solvable, right? And as a big dreamer, sometimes I really should go, on the beach and relax. But I said, how do I solve that coaching problem? Because people are coming to me for coaching, and I don't have the capacity. And nothing breaks my heart more than turning, away a young Black woman or young man. So I decided to go back to the systems, again, building in community. And now I'm building Kofa AI. And Kofa AI is going to be that AI-powered 24/7 coaching and mentorship platform that will help support folks on the coaching and on the self-leadership journey.
That is powerful. Okay, so so you're able to do it at scale with Kofa AI.
Yes,
So
exactly.
you're not able to be there for each and every person, but people can tap into this wisdom, this knowledge, and get that guidance from Kofa AI. Maybe you can share a little bit more about what is Kofa AI, and what is Kofa AI?
So a lot of what I've talked about so far in terms of, the self-love, program and practice, and a lot of my leap to equity, ancestral leadership. I've designed so many programs and done so many workshops and trainings over the years. So I've taken all of my products and I've put it into a data set. We call it the Integrated Intelligence Operating System or Network. And this is what's behind Kofa AI.
Got it.
Yes. And Kofa comes from Kofa. So going back to, when you asked me, who's Karlyn, and I've been learning so much more about her in my late 40s. Since I traced my roots to West Africa, Benin, Togo, Burkina Faso, and Nigeria. And I'm learning more and more about who she possibly can be just through, that knowledge alone. Because when you hear about, for example, the women in Benin, Togo, and they were actually the strategists behind the king, preserving the kingdom. And they were the ones who designed the war strategies and so forth. And they really did honor, women as part of the culture. Being born in St. Lucia, the only island named after a woman, I just feel like there's this huge noise and message of how do you bring this to women? How do you bring this? Because I believe that I'm a knowledge custodian. I'm not a knowledge keeper. I'm just here to take what I've been given, the gifts, and make sure that those gifts are in service to community. So my hunger has led me to all those places. But when I think of my nieces and nephews and the other folks that I've had the honor and privilege of training, we're very fortunate to work with incredible community organizations, both in the Caribbean and here, as well as Fortune 500 companies. We've worked with some of the top ones on Bay Street. Where do I go to learn about all what I told you about my heritage? The fact that we have our own, the Dagara, the West African, we have our own African medicine wheel, right? I learned that purpose is not something you look for. Purpose is something that's assigned from birth. Where do I go to learn more about that? We don't have a university that's focused on that. So for me, when I looked at the value system or the Adinkra symbol around Sankofa to go back, right, search and fetch and go forward with wisdom, I wanted everything I do, going back to intentional, and thanks for that reminder, everything that I do, it needs to tie back to our cultural inheritance. So Kofa being derived from Sankofa, you're learning something, even if you don't even engage with us. What's Kofa?
Yep.
Right? So now you're expanding not just your cultural curiosity, but hopefully your knowledge as well. And if you end up using Kofa, like I said, our integrated intelligence framework is rooted in what I call it's like an ACE. There's ancestral intelligence, there's multicultural intelligence, there's emotional intelligence, which is coming from the success system and all the other products that we've designed.
So maybe you can share a little bit more about Kofa AI as an experience. So is it a platform? Do people log in? And if they want to experience this for themselves, what does that look like? What does that journey look like? And let's say that I ask Kofa AI a question about what I need to do. What can I expect to get from it?
It's like you're asking me a question, but it's a chatbot.
Love.
Right? So I tell people it's like getting access to Karlyn as your coach, but 24/7. So better.
That's epic.
Right?
That's
It's
epic.
better. So think of, just as you have chat and you have Claude, pretty soon you'll just have Kofa AI. It'll be a chatbot on our website. It'll be available as an app. And we're also working with different groups to keep building on our responsible and ethical AI toolkit. Because as we know, what's very unfortunate about the AI, the artificial space right now, intelligence space right now, is that we forgot that we humans allowed our human biases to be capitalized on by artificial intelligence.
100%.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm like, we shouldn't be talking about all the fear and AI doesn't recognize, Black folks, or look at the stereotypes. We allow the stereotypes to be capitalized in the system. And that's why sometimes when I speak, I move away from the AI in terms of just saying the word, and I say man-made intelligence, human-made intelligence. That's what it is.
Yes.
So when we take the power, and that's one of the most, when people ask me, where do I start in terms of Karlyn, really tapping into my going beyond the growth mindset and tap into my innovative mindset or my innovation mindset. Right?
Tell me about that.
So if you think
Because
about,
that's a big difference.
yeah, because mindset drives everything.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What you think you become. So for me, if I can either complain or talk ad nauseum how AI is all the things that's wrong with it, and yes, there is a lot, but it's not because of you and I.
Yeah.
I always tell people, if those who hold the systemic power, who happens to be mostly white men, listen to Black women. listen to Indigenous women.
Yes.
And put into practice what they've been saying for years, because we do have the research and the practice and all the things that we need to make artificial intelligence better. But I find, and that's why I also stopped going to some of those conferences. Every conference is the same. We talk about the problem.
Yes, but you went and you built the solution.
Let's solve it.
Yes,
Humans are brilliant. We have the skills.
Yes.
Again, we have the people. Let's solve it. Let's think about the world. Yes, we inherited a certain version and culture, but we get to create the world that we leave behind. And for me, it's not lost on me. Someone who grew up in the bush, she's now working on, a tech platform, right? Like, and I hope people take that as an example. Yes. How you start is not how you end.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
You can change your mind. You can choose what you focus on. And also, if you think about the brain as a sponge, meaning that when you think about negative experiences or thoughts, the brain absorbs it like a sponge. It's like, oh, it's negative, it's bad. I need that information so that I can create a safe journey for Danny.
Yes.
It's just doing his job. But positive experiences, it treats it as Teflon. It's like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who cares if she was happy or she did a great job over there? That's why your self-leadership practice is so important, because you have to build your confidence bank account.
Yes.
So going back and run it up, answering your question, it's so important for us to decide, where am I placing my attention?
Yes.
What deserves my energy? I can be aware. I always say, notice the distraction, but don't get distracted.
Yes.
Be aware of what are some of the pitfalls, what are some of the things happening, but also, what's your contribution?
Yes.
How are you using your gifts?
Yes.
How are you taking your creative energy? A lot of people are restless and they're feeling stuck or they're feeling depressed. And there's some folks who are actually, yes, you are depressed, but a lot of folks are bored.
Yep.
Because they're not using their skills in a way that truly fulfills them.
Absolutely.
And for some of them, it's just a matter of that cultural confidence. So going back to that innovation mindset, the way you tap into that, the way you go beyond the narrative of, oh, I can't, or, I don't have, the people, or I don't have, the access. What can you access right now today?
Yep.
If you have access to a phone, you have access to the internet,
you can get started.
And that's how you tap into your innovation mindset.
One of the things that you speak about quite a bit as well is self-sovereignty. And what I love about that is it isn't about all these factors that we may not have control over. What we're doing is we're taking back that power internally. And I love that as just a route to start at, because the fruits that come from that, yeah. So maybe you can talk a little bit about self-sovereignty, how you landed at that as a concept, and how we can start to embody that a lot more.
Well, the good news is that everyone who's watching, listening right now, and yourself, we all have been practicing self-sovereignty. It's just that it wasn't rewarded.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't celebrated, right? So when I think of the narrative of, and I'll use an example of, we're at the time I was at the bank and we're hiring a developer, and we had lots of amazing interviews, lots of men. We had this one Turkish woman I'll never forget, and she was incredible. She not only did she have all the skills, she was actually above and beyond. And it was myself and 3 of my other colleagues who also happened to be men. Everybody was kept on talking about, oh yeah, this guy. And I'm like, wait, she has actually all and then some. And then a couple of my colleagues chimed in and they were like, oh, but would she be able to code long hours? And they had a lot of stereo. And I was like, And I remember I had to walk away because I remember I was getting heated because I didn't want the angry Black woman, because the year before I had gotten on my performance review that I'm too passionate. Right? I am too, too Black.
That's the word that they use.
Yeah, they love to use the corporate. You're too passionate. You're too loud. I was too passionate. So I really had to. So I stepped out of the room, and I didn't always speak up at certain tables. Flip that now to understanding that my passion and my sacred rage is part of my humanity.
Yes. Amen.
Right?
Yes.
It means that I care. And it means that my soul isn't dead in corporate.
You're still alive.
I'm still alive. Right? So self-sovereignty became this, I still have access to my values,
Yes.
right? And as much as I went through long periods of being unhappy at work and life is always lifing, self-sovereignty reminds us that discomfort is the signal.
So how do you define self-sovereignty?
I define it as the practice of affirming self outside of any external narratives or definition.
Powerful.
Right? You can consider it, right? So when you think about the imposed identity of Blackness in terms of Black women or this, blah, 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 and you think about our cultural inheritance. So when I was learning about the women from West Africa, or even the women from St. Lucia, Cécile Descartes, for example, she was one of our cultural icons. And she's a powerful example of self-sovereignty. Because for her, she said that my entire history, myself, who I am, matters. And at the time, I think the British, or was it the British or the French? Because we were ruled by both of those colonized countries, states. They banned Creole, and Creole is our ancestral language. So they passed a law that says it's illegal for you to speak that language.
Yeah, your native tongue.
Your native
crazy.
tongue, right?
Yeah.
And when you take away people's heritage, you take away who they are.
Yes.
Right?
Because there's a lot that's embedded within the connotations of the words. Even the way, the inflection of the tone of the words, there's so much embedded within that vibration. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's somatic because we're what, 70% water, 80% water as humans?
Yep.
Right? So we resonate with sound a lot. You know what she did? She recorded an album in Creole.
Love.
Right?
Yeah.
A true hero, a true icon. So when I think of self-sovereignty, I think about how important it is to honor those creative sparks, how important it is to honor that intuitive intelligence, how important it is to honor that creativity and the things that make you come alive, whether or not you decide to share it with the world.
Yeah.
Self-sovereignty says that I have every right to explore every delicious, incredible, beautiful, amazing part of who I am.
That's so
for
freeing.
me.
That's that
For
part.
me. Okay? That's the first thing. Self-sovereignty for me.
Yeah.
Once I've done that and I keep collecting and understanding, then I get to share with others. I get to choose which parts of myself that I share with others. Right? Because Minda Hart has this thing that she says. She said that you belong in every room, but not every room deserves you.
So true.
Right? You deserve access
So true.
to your full self. Even the parts of yourself that's tender, that you're still discovering, that you're not sure if you want to share with the world yet.
Yeah.
Date her. Go out with her. Dress her up. Figure out what she likes. What lights a fire. That's for you. And now from the overflow, you now get to share with others. I think that practice of self-sovereignty is what allows us to show up in rooms, in spaces, especially in community organizations, where we can take the systemic hurt and betrayal and we don't lash each other with it, but we notice it for what it is. We heal that hurt so that we can keep on working on behalf of our communities.
Wow, that is powerful on so many levels, because when I think of that definition of self-sovereignty, I see that it's an outlet not just for joy and self-love, it's also an outlet to connect.
Yes.
It really allows us the freedom to be able to connect and to not absorb the projections that can come at us, even in some of those tough corporate spaces, right?
And community spaces. Because I think that's the place I wish we had, because I think a huge benefit or a byproduct of having a self-sovereignty practice is that we get to be soft landing spaces for each other.
Ooh.
Right?
And we deserve that, to be soft landing places.
Not only deserve it, we don't have it.
Yeah.
We're always fighting for it. Right? We're always not just fighting for it. It's like, where do we go to be soft? Where can I go to exhale?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we know it's not all spaces in our communities we can go because we don't have the language for systemic distrust or systemic psychological warfare, really, because that's what it is, right? That's why, some of us go into spaces where like, oh, there's another Black girl here. I'm so excited. And then you either get thrown under the bus or that girl was a mean girl to you, right?
Yeah.
Because they believe that protecting that oneness Oh, I'm the only one. Let me protect that.
It's that 1 and 1 is 11. It's that
Yeah.
1 and 1
You're
is
there.
exponential. Yeah.
It's how many doors are you opening? Who are you
Mhm.
bringing to the table? Whose name are you mentioning at the table?
Yes. So what does a self-sovereignty practice look like in our business? What does a self-sovereignty practice look like in our home and in our personal life? What are some practical ways that we can start to live out a self-sovereignty practice?
The first one is, what's your self-talk tape?
Mm.
How are you talking to yourself? How do you greet yourself? How do you speak to yourself when you drop the ball, when you mess
Ooh.
up?
That shame voice is easy to come back in, right?
And shame voice will come because you're human. To feel shame is to be human. So
Yeah.
especially as people of African descent, it's so important to give our humanity back to ourselves. So feel the emotion. That's why I call it sacred rage, sacred anger.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about all the fibroids and the heart disease and what a lot of Black women are going through, a lot of us are holding on to pain and hurt that doesn't belong to us.
Mhm.
We got to give the system, the people, the community, those untold stories that we're carrying for others, give it back to them.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And
'Cause
what
if
does it
you
look
don't,
like to give it back?
because give it back, meaning that you close that chapter. It's not mine to carry. You've
Mm-hmm.
done everything you had to do. How do you give it back also? If you are the person that somebody comes to complain, or they come to tell a story about somebody did them wrong or blah, 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 and your answer isn't, have you spoken to that person?
Mm.
That's not self-sovereignty. You're part of the problem,
Got it. Yep.
right?
Clock it. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying people can't come and talk. For me, I have maybe 3 times max. It can
Yes.
change depending on what it is. But if I am always on the receiving end of your complaints, and I don't have a self-sovereignty practice,
Mm-hmm. There's got to be some
right?
boundaries.
You
there.
have to have some boundaries, energetic, spiritual boundaries, communication boundaries,
Mhm.
right? You have to teach people how to treat you. And the most powerful way to do that is to start by learning, how do you want to be treated? That's why I'm a huge, people might, get tired of me saying it. Date her, date yourself.
Love that.
I don't care if you're married, if you're in a situationship or whatever it is.
Mhm.
It's so important for you to date yourself, because when you do, in the relation that you are with the other person, then you can hold them accountable
Yes.
to you honoring your self-sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have one, it's kind of like letting people walk through your mind of dirty feet, right?
Ooh.
Because anybody can come in. They can come in any old way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you come to the door, so going back self-sovereignty at your home, you might be, don't walk in my house with shoes.
Yes.
And,
yes,
a lot of
yes.
us are in the Caribbean and,
Yes.
people of
yes.
African descent, we all have that in common. It doesn't matter where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us can relate to that. So self-talk on a personal level, that's what it looks like.
Yes.
Self-sovereignty for me also is, to me, if I am in the room, I'm responsible to bring other women in the room with me.
Love that.
So when I was on
So
City Line, even today I'm wearing Kayadua. It's a Nigerian brand. This is a designer that I just discovered. What is her name? Oh, I just met her. But she does incredible jewelry. Because to me, part of my self-sovereignty is, if I die today, what was the story I was telling?
Yeah.
Right? I want to tell great stories.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Like I want to be able to show up and say that even if I didn't say something, I supported others with my actions.
Yes.
Right? It's not just with my words, but also with my actions in terms of what I wear. And at home, same thing.
Mhm.
At home, when I look around my home, I want to see things and if I have a pod or an arrangement, where's it coming from?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, for example, my bowls in my kitchen. I have Calabash from St. Lucia. There's an African brand who did some really beautiful bowls using this birch from Africa. I bought a set from them. What I eat on matters, right? And I'm not
Yes.
saying it's like everything, but put the things that matter to you in your home.
Yes. And in your space,
And
we
in
have
your
this
space.
freedom to do so. And it's really just
Yes.
taking the choice to say, hey, I'm actually
Exactly.
going to go ahead and do that.
And do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And if you think about the practice of building this sovereignty around yourself,
Mhm.
then you start expanding it more, and it becomes easier because now you've conditioned your energy and your spirit around it,
Yes.
the people around you. also very similar, right?
So maybe we can go to that. How do you approach community from that lens? So it starts with the self-sovereignty and, that system, that success system,
Mhm.
and then it goes into community.
Yeah.
And you've built Sister Talks as a part of that.
Yes.
Maybe you can share a little bit more about that program.
It's so Sister Talk is the community I've built, but I also want to share that community is where two or more are gathered, right? Like it's community. So when you enter other relations with others, how are you entering it?
Mm-hmm.
Like what agreements, spoken and unspoken,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you have with each other?
Yeah.
And with Sister Talk, again, because I didn't have the space, some of the women's groups at the time, when you're still working on Bay Street, I felt they were just very corporate and leadership. And I'm like, can we talk about shame?
Yeah.
Can we talk about,
yeah.
Can we talk about how, like white supremacy shows up in like this very intangible way, but you can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we're helpless. We don't know how to take our power back.
Yep.
Sometimes we don't know, like we can see each other struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that pain when another sister lashes out at me. I'm like, I know you're not being intentional. Like it's not me you're hurting yourself,
mm-hmm.
but it still hurts.
Yes.
Right? Like as Beyonce said, when you hurt me,
mm-hmm.
you hurt yourself.
Period. Yep.
So how do we bring that into those spaces? So for me, I bring it with, again, how I speak, how I show up, what I model.
Mm-hmm.
So Sister Talk became the space for that. And it just became a place where we learn and practice to care of each other because no one taught us how to love.
Yeah.
Right? We're always taught to care. We're always taught to manage. And I think it was Audre Lorde in one of her books, she said that. She said that we were taught how to care for each other, how to get a man, how to, all of that stuff to care of how. No one taught us how to take care of ourselves and each other. And relationship between women, sisterhood suffered and struggled because of that,
mm-hmm.
right? And now we're all very, I don't have female friends, or I don't like women. We have all those narratives. And for me, when I hear people say that, I hear a cry for, I wasn't taught how to love or be around other women.
Yeah.
I wasn't taught how to build friendships that are nurturing.
I remember there was like maybe 10 years ago, you would walk by another woman and it would be just like this strange energy. But it feels that now, like you had said before, when we walk into a space, there is this welcoming love. There is this this sisterhood that's coming through in the collective consciousness.
Yes.
How can we continue to foster that? Because, we're seeing it online, we're even calling each other sis in a way that's so beautiful. And it's so important for community, especially within the business space. I see it happening where we're supporting each other, all of that.
I mean, I want us to do more though. I want us to do more, but yes, we are doing better. And how do we do that? The practice, going back to what you said, you asked me, okay, how do you cultivate self-sovereignty in the home or in community? Community is everywhere you go, everywhere you walk. So for me, if I see a woman, especially a sister on the street, and she looks good, you can be across the street. I'm shouting it out.
Love it. Yeah.
Right?
I love that.
Like you said, like you look fantastic.
Thank you.
You look amazing. Right?
You.
And that suit is 10 out of 10.
Yes.
We need to pay each other compliments more.
Thank you.
Because where do we go, again, to be soft landing spaces for each other? So I think it starts on the street. It starts on, if you're in a room and you heard another woman say something awesome, repeat it.
Yes.
Or quote her. In my work company, it takes a longer time and you do need a lot of patience. But for me, when I first designed, I remember the first success planner that I did. Every month I had an inspiring quote from a woman.
Okay.
And I was using quotes that I found on the internet, or I would Google and I noticed that most of the quotes were either US women or, very powerful, like a CEO or a VP or whatnot. And I'm like, I have been around so many of my friends or women from the Caribbean who are so smart.
Yes.
And they have incredible wisdom to share. But when I Google, I can't find none of them.
So true.
We are the best kept secret. Our brilliance goes back to that cultural wisdom. Where are you being affirmed?
Yep.
But also intuitive intelligence is not celebrated.
Yeah.
Some of us are brilliant. We just know how to do things, but we didn't go to school for it.
Yes.
School is not the only place to validate your gifts. That's why community is so important.
I'm so happy you shared that
Right?
because I think that that's one of the things that can create a lot of shame for people when
Yes.
it's not validated
It's
at
not,
all.
mm-mm.
Not
School is
validated at
not,
all.
school is just one of the structured formats and places that you can go to birth that, particular skill.
Yes.
It's a part of a pathway. It's not the only pathway.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, some of the most brilliant people I know, they weren't tainted by, don't mean tainted, but they weren't conditioned.
Yes. Mhm.
Right. And even with the whole schooling conversation, when I coach and I do my training, especially for C-suite leaders, I remind them, like, I get it. You went to the top schools. Maybe you have your, all your different accolades and whatnot, but your education is incomplete
Yes. Yes.
because
Yes.
the Canadian history books, the references that are being used, the scientific knowledge that a lot of those frameworks and models are being pulled from,
Yeah.
they don't include Black, Indigenous, people of color, wisdom, and academic brilliance.
Mhm.
Lots of them doesn't include even us as subjects as part of the research. It was based on
Yes.
white, Caucasian, and again, and even white folks learning that they have been racialized as white too
Mhm.
is also something we still have to unpack. So there's so much there that's not
Yes.
even included. So I remind leaders and managers that the system has also failed you too, because you
Yep.
don't have all the tools you need to do your job. But also that's why we're here,
And
right?
that's where Kofa
That's where
AI
Kofa
comes in.
AI comes in, because I
Mhm.
noticed that there's a communication hesitation problem. And it's
Yes.
costing workplaces billions. That's one thing. But also it's harming our communities. And to me, that's the more urgent one.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes, corporate. But how do we get our people to learn to love and support and to be there, right,
Yes.
for and with each other?
Mhm.
That's how we do it. So if you have an idea and you're bringing in your language, or you want to, you see someone do a women's group that way, but you have an idea to do that way, ask yourself, do I really need to create a women's group, or do I need to share my gifts in a different way?
Mhm.
Like for me, I
Mhm.
never really wanted to run events for Sister Talk. I'm not an event planner. I don't like events.
Yeah.
Back to my introvert mode.
Yeah.
But I love gathering women together.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
love pouring
Yes.
into women. And I love putting women into spaces so they can see each other and see each other's brilliance.
Mhm.
So Sister Talk now became that space where I can now pull those quotes. I was like, oh, what was that you said?
Mhm.
Oh, girl, So I started collecting quotes. And one of the practices we have in going back to self-sovereignty for every Sister Talk event, actually in our different notebooks,
Mhm.
what we would do was to write a letter to each other.
Okay.
Right? I was trying to find my notebook. I think it's somewhere. We write a letter to each other.
Is it this one?
So, yes, like you have yours. Yes, you can show yours. So on each page, there's not only is there an affirmation to remind you
Mhm.
that you are that girl.
So good.
We wrote, so when I go home, I open my book, I would have tons of quotes from all the women within
Mhm.
Sister Talk.
Mhm.
And even for some women, when I asked them for a quote, me, no, really? You think that was? I'm like, yes,
Yes.
that was an awesome quote. You're brilliant.
Mhm.
So if my job on this earth is to just pour into women and to tell them that they're smart and brilliant and amazing, consider it done.
Yes.
So what I did was, over the years, is to create more systems around how do we gather those quotes? How do we gather the frameworks from some of those women? Some of those women are out there creating incredible programs.
Yes.
But the confidence in which they put it out there, it's still like they're asking for permission to be
Mhm.
themselves.
Mhm.
And playing small serves nobody,
Yep.
right? We need you to play big, because we've got a whole bunch of young kids looking at us and saying, oh, is this how we're supposed to walk through life? Or it's how we're supposed to treat each other?
Yeah.
Because every single step you take, you're building cultural narratives that will soon be embedded and become a part of who we are as a society and as women. So I have a database called the Database of Leadership Excellence, where I've just been manually asking people for quotes. Yes, it takes longer. That's why, girl, I'm like, I'm tired. I'm like, I need
Mhm.
Kofa AI,
Mhm.
because it's been
To
it's,
scale.
it's been this is actually our 9th year. And I realize I haven't really celebrated any, people do big celebrations. I've done many
Yes.
celebrations along the way.
Mhm.
But this is our 9th year, and this is why I'm so excited to share and to put Kofa AI out there more, because what I'm really hoping is that it becomes a larger mirror
Yes.
for especially, Black, Indigenous women of color, especially those who haven't always been quoted or amplified. I think if we women build that practice more,
Mhm.
we're going to create such a powerful movement, not just of sisterhood, but at least we'll have a definition of sisterhood where we can write a letter to Audre Lorde and Bell Hooks and all those ancestors and women we learned from and say, you know what? We've built a definition of sisterhood that is so powerful and incredible.
Yeah.
We have women walking down the street, sharing compliments with each other, shouting each other out, supporting each other, helping each other. People are now confident to use these skills in a way where, like I said, I don't want to run events. But imagine if someone say, hey, Karlyn, I love what you're doing at Sister Talk. I love all the knowledge and the training and the teachings. I love bringing women together. Can we partner on this? Can we collaborate on that? I want us to get to a place where we're culturally confident enough to collaborate with each other so that we can keep growing together. But most importantly, we keep writing a narrative that we're proud of. And when we look back, we can say, I contributed to amplifying a sisterhood that feeds and nourishes the soul and not one that tears down and one that actually beats each other up.
You know, when we think of a tech founder, we have this idea in our mind, and a lot of the tech founders that are projected out there are white men, right? But there is a growing body of Black women, Black men who are out there creating platforms, creating experiences, digital experiences that are transformative. And what's beautiful about Kofa AI is that it's rooted in our history, our identity. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey as a tech founder? You know, you don't come from necessarily a technical background. You know, you come from more the psychology, neuroscience, space. Can you share a little bit about your journey and how you bridge that gap in terms of the technical expertise as well?
Yeah. It's so funny because even in my role at the bank, I worked in tech and operations. And yes, I was always on the training side and the leadership side, but I always got drawn into tech solutions. Funny enough. So I feel like the workplace prepared me for this project, which really what drives me the most is doing it for community. What really got me there is, like I said, is like the number of people who not only needed coaching, but also how do we do it in a way that centers their full humanity and the multicultural brilliance and not just that inherited definition of who they are. And it's an idea I've been working on for the past, I would say, 3 years.
Okay.
And I was hesitant to join any other accelerator or group. There's so many different groups. Or join this accelerator. And I looked at it and I'm like, I'm not going in front of, tech bros and try to explain to that. First of all, I don't want to say they would not have the depth to understand, but what I've learned, especially when we did our research on psychological safety in the workplace, focused on Black women in partnership with York University, when I shopped it around for funding, the number one thing I got is, why focus on Black women?
Wow.
Why can't focus on all women? And I'm like, Black women rarely gets focused. What does Malcolm X say? Black women are at the, right?
The bottom rung,
The bottom. And if we decide to focus on Black women, there's a framework called the Black Women Best Framework. Look it up. It's incredible. It's a woman economist who designed it. And basically her premise is that if we center Black women policies, ideas, programs in everything we do, automatically it takes care of everyone at the margins.
Yes.
Because think about it. There's every race, I have seen someone from every race say, Mama, whether they're Asian, they're white, they're Indian, they're whatever it is.
Yeah.
My mama said, if anything happened, look for a Black woman. She will
protect you.
She'll take care of you. She'll protect you. She'll feed you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we know that. Yet,
yes,
Black women are still not being treated with the utmost respect. So for me, from that experience, I was very, very hesitant to just join any tech accelerator. So I waited, and then finally, Pitch Better, which is run by Amoy Henry and Adila Carter and a group of incredible women. They launched the tech accelerator, and I was so happy for Black women. I was so happy because I was like, okay, good. I can just go in there.
Powerful work, by the way. That's very powerful work.
And just, thank you. And just get it done. I don't have to explain. I don't have to be like, oh, will they get this? Or can I just go with my full integrated intelligence framework? And I did. So I was so, so happy and so grateful to Pitch Better for helping me take my idea and actually build an MVP. And I think that's when I got that first, it can work. And when I had that first version, I went back home to St. Lucia and I had this incredible young woman from Groselay. I told her, ask it any question, and she did. And when she read it, she's like, wow. She's like, thank you so much. She's like, I wish every youth can get that. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm on the right track.
Yes.
And I
Yes,
can't
yes.
wait to go back home and formally launch. Very exciting. We're in production right now, which is great. So by the fall, we should have Kofa AI on the market.
Phenomenal.
Companies and organizations and individuals can license it out. You can have your own personal coach.
Mhm.
But most importantly, every organization that purchases a license, we automatically generate a license for a youth-led and a youth-focused organization so that they can increase their EQ, they can increase their cultural intelligence. A lot of the workshops that I've done for youth-led organizations, we're putting that in the back.
Mhm.
And again, work with organizations. So now they have the tools. They have the conflict resolution tools. They have the cultural identity tools. They understand that you don't have to define yourself only by what you see online.
Yep.
There's so much more. And I'm hoping that through that, not only can they build the EQ, the emotional intelligence, but they can build the cultural confidence to be the brilliant, bright, innovative, creative, just incredible people, human boys, girls that I know that they can be.
So let's talk use case. What are some of the questions that people like you would suggest be putting into Kofa AI, and what would some of the responses
I still have
be?
one of my. Okay, how about we do this? Let's do this live. I have one version that is still because I had it on a like just a did you call this a version?
Mhm.
Let's see. Okay, we're gonna do Kofa for sisterhood.
I love this.
Here. So I have 3 different questions already prompted, but you can ask it anything that you want. So you could read the question you're going to ask or ask it a question
Okay.
and you can read out what it says.
So I just want to share for the audience that says a guide inspired by Black, African, Caribbean, cultural, and feminist icons, celebrating the power of dreams, love, and sisterhood. So powerful. Okay. So I'm just going to look at some of the prompts here.
And that's one of the coaches. So we have different coaches under Kofa AI. So what I'm sharing with you is the one for women and for sisterhood and community.
Okay. So there's different types of chats. Okay. So there's one. I love this one. How can I embrace my authentic self more fully? What I love about this question, we were talking a bit earlier. When we say our authentic self, what's the context for that? Is the Danielle that you see on a boat ride where we're having, Caribbean food and everything, the same version that's going to be here on the couch, the same version in
Yes.
the corporate space, right?
Yes.
And so I'm interested in seeing what it will say. So I'm just going to put in,
I'm going to select it.
how can I embrace my authentic self more fully? Beautiful. Okay, so it's giving me the answers. And it says, to embrace your authentic self more fully, the Sister Talk and Ancestral Leadership resources offer powerful guidance rooted in ancestral wisdom, emotional intelligence, and collective healing. Here are integrated steps drawn from these teachings. Wow, this is powerful. And so it's pulling up information from Sister Talk.
Yes, because I have a lot of my frameworks and my works in the back. So which one jumps out to you? So
The first one
know
that
there's-
says, acknowledge and accept your whole self. It then goes into break internal barriers to love. This is really interesting. Practice the ancestral knowledge framework. And then it's giving information about what that framework is. Reframe limiting beliefs.
and
Ooh.
I wanted to share for folks because when you think about ancestral intelligence, we have also inherited a lot of fear around it as well.
Yes.
Because people think that, it means again, that's part of the conditioning of, colonization. I also look at colonial narratives as a mindset pathway. And if we see it as such, then we'll be able to understand, okay, where am I pulling my data from in terms of decision-making, communication skills, or relational skills? Basically, ancestral intelligence simply means that every culture, every person, you have inherited wisdom from your family systems, right? From your culture, from your traditions, that is still valid and applicable for not just today's society, but also for today's innovative solutions, like problems and creativity and so forth. So when we look at ancestral intelligence from a wider point of view, and we can really tap into a broader and deeper cultural well of knowledge systems that also has solutions as well. So we are working
Absolutely.
way too hard.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
There's so much more that can be affirmed. And it doesn't mean you have to do more, but we do know that language can shift behavior and can increase confidence, right? How you talk to yourself.
Yes.
So this is where that part is coming from.
I'm happy you
So-
clarified that because you're absolutely right. I think there's a lot of
Negative connotation, right?
Negative connotation around the term ancestral wisdom.
Yeah.
It clarifies it here exactly what it does mean as well. I love this. Upgrade your mental software. And then letting go of the past. So this is beautiful because it's holistic.
Yeah.
And it's also speaking in a language that's very close to us on a vibrational level. Like it's not over intellectualized, but it's rooted in our history.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
To your question about which one stands out, I love the one about reframing limiting beliefs. Examine what's on your belief window. This is amazing. And this is very different than what you would see on a regular ChatGPT chat.
Yes. If we had more time, I would show you what the regular one says. And people are usually like, oh.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
But yeah, thank you. Thank you.
That's phenomenal. And I
More
love
to
that you
come.
went to an accelerator led by Black women to be able to build that. So that's phenomenal. The ecosystem is so important.
Yeah.
And being able to tap into ecosystems that reflect who we are is also so, so important.
And also, but demonstrating that we do work together and we work well together, right? Just as, we had this incredible chat. And I think I'm just really excited to see what happens when we dream bigger together, but also when we believe in ourselves more, we believe in a future that's possible for all of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I did want to share, you brought up the suit a couple of times, and I do definitely want to give a shout out to Caffrey Van Horn. This is his work. This is absolutely stunning suit. And I did wear it. I wanted to save it for a special occasion. And when I think about you and, your brand overall, and not just your brand, who you are, a lot of it is reflected in what you share, but also how you show up. And when we talk about ancestral wisdom and being able to pass those things down, when I was thinking of the joy of what to wear, I thought of you, and I thought this is just a perfect reflection of that light. So yeah, thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
You got that? Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, this was so multidimensional. It's very powerful to see you in a space of leadership, especially within STEM. It's powerful to see you go from the corporate space to becoming an entrepreneur, to stepping into the technology space. It's beautiful to also then see you at a tree. You know what I mean? Tapping into that ancestral wisdom, tapping into the moment. And it's so important for us to continue to share our stories. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you? How can they find all of what you're building and tap into the framework and resources that you have?
Yes, follow me on socials, Karlyn Percil. You'll find me, I'm sharing more and more of the journey of building Kofa AI, so you'll see more videos. I'm not really good at this. I'm self-producing this, so hold the judgment. Be kind.
You're doing a great job. You're doing...
Yeah, hoping to do a bit of a, sister talk, a bit of a documentary around that, our journey and where we are and on what's next. And if you're looking for a more, like a building your own personal success system, become a member at KDPM Equity Institute. And it also helps us to continue doing the work that we're doing right now as well. So folks can become a member on there. And we're actually launching a campaign for Kofa AI soon as well. So if you want to support, people can get early access that way as well.
Beautiful. And is there anything else that you would want to share with the audience before we go?
Just keep dreaming big. You are more powerful than you realize. And you are the one writing your story. So make sure that the chapter, the title, and the ending that you're writing is one that you're proud of. And make sure that you are your own muse. You are your own postcards. So don't mail yourself any postcards that you're not proud of. Show up, show out, and be too much.
I love that. And right now in this time, a lot of people are going to ChatGPT to get information, to understand their self deeper. There's that trend happening.
Yeah.
And so I would also suggest, tapping into Kofa AI and get a different view of what it looks like to see yourself reflected and not projected through a lens that doesn't truly reflect who you are. Thank you so much for doing the work, for building, not just in the 3D, but now you're building in the digital space. We are so, so honored to have you. We're proud of you and everything that you're building. And we thank you for being a voice and being a light. And thank you so much for being here on the Other Canada podcast.
Thank you for having me.